Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm studying for my LS7A midterm and I'm decided to do a little video on chemical bonds and intermolecular forces. Today is Friday, April 27th. Okay. So, chemical bond and intermolecular forces. Why does chemical bond exist? Well, these atoms, they do whatever they can to reduce the overall energy, and they want to reach the lowest energy by achieving a balance between the attractive force and a repulsive force. They basically want to hold on to each other for a really long time, and they want to be as close as possible. But however, if they're too close to each other, the nuclei repel each other, and the potential energy increase, so that these two molecules slowly distance from each other, and the distance that they are apart from each other is called bond length. Well, that is like later on chapter, but what we're focusing on today is chemical bond and intermolecular forces. So the first type of bond that we have is called covalent bond. Well, technically, a covalent bond is a chemical bond that involves the sharing of electrons, and it is based on electronegativity. Electronegativity is the ability to attract an electron, and in the covalent bond, the electron is more attracted to the atom with a higher electronegativity. So, if you look at the periodic table, electronegativity will increase across like this. This is a trend of electronegativity. So let's look at one example. For example, CH4. This is an example of a covalent bond, and as you can see that CH4, C has 4 valence electron is outermost level, and hydrogen has only have 1. So when they bond together, the valence electron of hydrogen and carbons are sharing, as you can see from this diagram. All sharing electron. This is an example of covalent bond. There are two types of covalent bond, which is polar covalent bond and non-polar covalent bond. So what is polarity? Well, polarity is when you have two molecules bind to each other, and on one side of the atom is slightly negative and the other side is slightly positive. That is what polarity is. And a polar covalent bond, for example, a polar covalent bond is water, H2O. Um, if you look at the water molecule, you see that the electronegativity of oxygen is so high that it's slightly negative, and then hydrogen is slightly positive. So when they bond to each other, they create this unequal share of electron. And usually for a polar covalent bond, the electronegativity difference is between 0.3 and to 1.7. For a non-polar covalent bond, it's the opposite of polar covalent bond, meaning they equally share the electrons surrounding them. For example, H2, there's no partial charge from this molecule and the bond in here. And the electronegativity difference is usually less than or equal to 0.3. So the third type of bond that we have is called ionic bond. And this is basically the bonds between a positive ion and a negative ions. So these positive ion and negative ions are basically come from the metals on the periodic table. When these metals drop their electron, they become either positive or negative ions. They become ion. A positive ion is an ion that lose an electron. In this case, if you look at NaCl, when these two form an ionic bond, Na will give away its electron to Cl, where it will transfer this electron so it can bond to Cl, and the negative ion will be Cl, in which it's gained the electron from Na. So an ionic bond is technically a bond that requires some sort of transferring of electron rather than sharing electron like the covalent bond. So when you dissolve NaCl, for example, like salt, when you dissolve into water, the negative end of H2O, so for this is H2O, this is O, this is H, this is O, and this is H. This is slightly positive, this is slightly positive, and this is slightly negative. So when you dissolve salt in water, the positively end of water will bond into the negative charge of NaCl, and the the negative end of H2O will bond into the positive part of this. So Na will go here, and that's how salt being dissolved in water. So moving on, we have hydrogen bond. So what is hydrogen bond? Hydrogen bond is a bond between a slightly positive charged hydrogen and a more electronegative atom of another molecule. So let's look at an example of water. For example, can these water bonds form hydrogen bond with each other? Yes, they can, because like I said, hydrogen water is polar, so that means one atom in this molecule is slightly more negative than the other two. In this case, oxygen is slightly negative and hydrogen is slightly positive. So the slightly positive hydrogen of one water molecule can bond with the electronegative atom of another water molecule, which in this case, this hydrogen will form a hydrogen bond with this oxygen of another water molecule. And hydrogen bond is typically weaker than covalent bond, but it is not weaker than ionic bond. It is usually the bond between hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur. I'm going to go back to study for my 7A midterm, and I hope that this video helps you guys. Good luck on your midterm, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you.